it's Miss Fish, and I'm here to give you an introduction to genetics. To start off, we're going to talk about someone Gregor Mendel. He is known as the father of genetics, and he was a monk who studied pea plants and how traits were inherited. He studied pea color, flowering, and if the peas were smooth or wrinkly. Go ahead and pause if you need to, and then restart when you're ready. So these notes today are basically just some important terms that you need to know about before we do some monohybrid crosses. So the first one is alleles. Alleles are a form that a single gene may have for a particular trait, so it could be dominant or recessive. And we'll talk about those terms, dominant and recessive, in this lesson. Go ahead and pause if you need to before going on. Genetics is the science of heredity, so basically how things are inherited. Homozygous means having two identical alleles of a particular trait. So both alleles are either capital letters or both are lowercase. Remember, the prefix homo means the same, so that means there are two identical alleles. Go ahead and pause if you need to now, and then restart when you're ready. Heterozygous means to have two different alleles of a particular trait. So that means there's one capital letter and one lowercase letter. Remember that prefix hetero means different, so a pair of alleles is different. So there's one capital and one lowercase allele. The genotype of an organism is its allele pair, so the letters that we're going to be using to distinguish characteristics. That is the genotype. Go ahead and pause if you need to now before continuing on. The phenotype is the observable characteristics that is expressed as a result of an allele pair, what you see. So the phenotype is what you see in a person. So you can see my eyes are green. That is my phenotype. Go ahead and pause if you need to and continue writing when you're ready. So, law of segregation. That in Mendelian law is stating that there are two alleles for each trait and they separate during meiosis. So remember, at the beginning of meiosis 1, you have a cell, it's duplicated its chromosomes. At the end of meiosis 1, you have two cells that have 46 chromosomes. That's too many for sex cells, so it has to go through a reduction. So it goes through meiosis 2. When it goes through meiosis 2, it only has 23 sets of chromosomes. That is where Mendelian's law of segregation comes into play. The alleles get separated during meiosis, specifically meiosis 2. Go ahead and pause if you need to, and then restart when you're ready. So another important term is the law of independent assortment. So Mendelian's law is saying that a random distribution of alleles occurs during the formation of gametes. So for example, my dad has red hair and green eyes. Just because I have green eyes does not mean I would inherit his red hair. That is an example of the law of independent assortment. The red hair and green eyes are not tied together. Go ahead and pause if you need to, and then continue on when you're ready. So hybrids are organisms that are heterozygous for specific traits. They have one capital letter and one lowercase letter. Dominant is a trait that appears with only one allele, so it's represented by a capital letter. Whenever you have at least one capital letter, that dominant trait will appear. Go ahead and pause if you need to, and continue when you're ready. The recessive trait is the trait that appears only when there are two lowercase letters that are present. So it has to be the two lowercase letters because the capital letter represents a dominant trait. A Punnett square is a diagram used to predict genotypes of a particular cross. And we'll begin doing Punnett squares probably the next day to dive into that aspect. Alright guys, we have reached the end. I hope you guys have a great day. Please let me know if you have any questions about these vocabulary words, and I look forward to seeing you and doing Punnett squares. I hope you have a great night. Bye!